physique is not complete with big, peaky biceps. So let's get started with the most famous one. Is truly a bicep builder. Okay guys, a physique is not complete with big, peaky biceps. So here are my favorite bicep movements on my road to the Arnold Classic, Ohio. So let's get started with the most famous one. Everybody knows this one of my favorites, the old school concentration curl. If you want big biceps, you don't just want full biceps, but also peaky biceps. You see, that peak, that's what you want, that peak contraction. One way to get this is by the concentration curl with a dumbbell. So let's do this. Pick a relatively light dumbbell, not too heavy at all. We're gonna do this standing up first. So you're gonna put your arm freely and let it hang. And then let this dumbbell and this hand go to the other shoulder basically. So the other shoulder of the arm, just like this. And here, you wanna feel that peak contraction. And then you wanna control on the way down. And at the moment you feel the tension is getting lost, you go back up again. Just like this. And every time you contract, you don't just wanna feel the squeeze, you wanna feel that peak contraction in order to create those bicep peaks. And make sure to let your pinky go towards the other side. So not like this, but like that. And that way you create a bicep peak to the max. Oh. We all know when you look at your biceps, it's easier to contract it and to control the movement. And looking at your muscles is more anabolic than not. So another variation of the concentration curl, instead of standing, is sitting down. Very easy, but it changes the movement quite drastically. Why? Because now you can use your leg kind of as a preacher curl. It's very handy. Just look at this. Now my arm is all of a sudden in an angled position, just like it would be on a preacher curl. And this way you can get more tension on the stretch as well. Turning it from a concentration curl to kind of like a makeshift preacher curl with your own body. So you can even do this at home if you don't have a preacher bench. You can do this just with a dumbbell and your own leg. So you actually do want to decrease the weight a little bit on this one, as it might be more challenging. And you can actually feel the peak contraction even stronger. So you can alternate the standing version and the seated version. And in terms of sets and reps, I would do 3 sets at least for the concentration curl, 12 to 15 reps. Why? Below that it's going to be too heavy. Your other muscles will try to help and it's too much of a risk of injury. In my opinion, the biceps are a small muscle and we want it to be as big as possible, which is why we want to go higher volume, lower weight, mind-muscle connection. Always start with the strongest arm first and match the reps with the weakest arm. For most people, it's going to be the right arm the strongest and the left one the weakest. Another advantage of doing it with one arm is you can use your other arm to spot yourself. Like now you can't get up anymore. Spot yourself very slowly, only on the way up. And when you go on the way down, you do it yourself because you're stronger on a negative than the positive. Now before going to the next bicep movement, I think one thing is very important, having an incredible pump. And for that reason, I want to introduce to you my new pre-workout crank golden pump. No stimulants, but all the pump. So even later at night, you can take this 24/7. No stimulants, again, so you can take it right before bed in the evening workout. But I've been working on this for a very, very long time. This will come out right before the Arnold Classic, the Wednesday before the Arnold Classic. And as you can see right here, I've got one of the samples left. I've got a lot of samples I've tested over the last couple of months, since last year already. And this, in addition to the regular Crank Pump Pro, has Q10 Plus, which means intra-set recovery has been increased, but also much more ingredient quantities of the pump-inducing ingredients such as citrulline, arginine, but also glycerol to get as much water inside the muscle as possible. Because if you want successful bicep peaks, full biceps or any other muscles, getting a very good pump towards those muscles will yield greater results. But I'm super proud of this, and it smells incredible. Pineapple mango, a unique flavor. So right before the workout, it's 38 grams a scoop to make sure, per serving, to make sure you get enough pump-inducing ingredients inside the muscle. Shake it up with enough water. Well, be on the lookout for this one, guys. We're coming out right before the Arnold Classic, and I've been using this for many months now to prepare myself for the Arnold. Let's enjoy the rest of the workout. All right, next one is going to be a stretch-mediated curl, but in simple terms, the first movement worked on the peak contraction, and this one will work on the stretch of the muscle. You want both a peak contraction, aka a squeeze, but also a stretch in the same workout to work all muscle fibers to the max for the maximum growth. So now we're sitting down, and this is kind of going to be two cables at the same time. And the moment I go all the way in a stretched position, that is when the stretch is the max. So that's what you want to feel. It's going to be harder towards the stretch and easier right here. As you can see, very little tension. You want to sit it a little bit in an incline, and you want the cable to now be as high as your wrist in the end position or in this position. And once you go in the stretch, that's when you feel the most tension. Oof. Yeah. Oh, the combination of the squeeze, and then the stretch is truly a bicep builder in your arm workouts. Now with this one, we also have a variation. This is standing up with one arm at a time, which allows you to work on the weakest arm first and then the strong arm. So to make this regular cable curl a stretch movement, you don't want to put it all the way at the bottom. You want to put it at around hip height. So when you're standing like this with a straight arm, this cable is pretty much going straight back. So what you then want to do is walk all the way over here. Make sure there's tension, and right here, I'm at the top. There's very little tension here, but once I go in the stretched position, that is when the tension exists, and that is what you want to feel. And this is a great variation to ensure an amazing stretch, and it drops off in tension at the top, which allows you to really fatigue the muscle to the max in the stretched position for maximum muscle growth. And also, do not be afraid to go to failure on the biceps when you're using a weight that is nice and light, not too heavy, your form is correct. It's a small muscle group, so you won't be overly fatiguing your whole body, just locally in the biceps, which they can handle if you want them to grow. Next one of my favorites. I used to do this a lot years ago for a great bicep peak and contraction. The spider curl or the Scott curl. And the name Scott curl comes actually from Larry Scott, the first Mr. Olympia, who had incredible biceps. So this is a great movement to do to build those exact biceps to massive size, in my opinion. So it's a very interesting one. It's one that requires some practice, and you cannot do this heavy. And it's exactly what you want for biceps, exercises that feel nice and light, but feel nice and mind-muscle connectioned and very nice deep into the muscle. So what you want to do is I like to grip it a little bit narrow with an easy curl bar. You can do it with a straight bar, but this feels better on the wrists in my opinion. So you want to sit on a preacher bench like this, but then the other way around, so you can actually drop straight down, just like this. Go all the way down, all the way. Here the stretch is minimized, and when the stretch is minimized, it means on the other side of the rep, the contraction will be maximized. So you want to go all the way up, and right here, the maximum squeeze you can possibly feel, and then go straight down, nice and slow, nice and controlled, and repeat that. But here you really want that squeeze. And that truly creates those bicep peaks that we all want for big biceps. Oh, now for this movement, there is one special thing you can do. As you saw, it's kind of difficult to keep your elbows close together when performing this movement. But the closer they are together, the more in line the wrist will be with the elbow and the shoulder, which will prevent any elbow pain, any wrist pain, or any tendonitis. If you do this for a long time, like this, and if you go heavier and heavier, your biceps will grow, but your tendons might not like that very much. So what you want to do, what you can try is something like this. This is called a slingshot. You can probably use a small resistance band as well, but this is just more comfortable. You want to put it around your elbows, just like this. So it kind of forces your elbows to be close together. So you can't really push them out as easily. Then you want to grab the bar just a bit wider. So now I can push my elbows together, and now it starts to look like a true old school movement that you saw back in those old black and white magazines. And just like this, it becomes even more difficult. But now all the joints are aligned better, and this will cause even more of a contraction. Trust me guys, give this one a shot. If you don't feel the bicep contraction here, you never will. Ugh. Oh, that's how heavy this is. Lightweight, but you can still get some enormous biceps with movements like this. So those were some of my favorite old school yet modern ways of training the biceps to get some big biceps in my classic physique class at the Arnold Classic Ohio. But if you want bigger arms overall, those biceps simply will look great in a t-shirt, a tank top, or no matter what you wear, biceps is all what we want to have bigger. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what other biceps, not just biceps, what other muscle groups you want to see. Biceps is all on my mind right now, guys. As you can see, my brain is right here. But what other muscle groups do you want to see? Comment down below and let me know. And also, don't forget to stay golden.